And now this goes back to last week. Who can tell me what the 4 major championships are in order?
We're going to go with Mr. Foley.
Raising my hand. I wasn't raising my hand.
Okay, sorry. Who else is raising your hand? Who knows what the 4 majors are?
Come on, I gave it to you last week.
And in order. Anybody know them?
Come on.
Anybody?
Okay.
Hang on. Let's see here. Hawk, do you know?
I think I know like a couple, like maybe the PGA Tour or like the Wells Fargo thing.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's back this up so we can. We're gonna go back through this one again real quick. So actually, they just changed a bunch of them. They had to move them back. They canceled the Open Championship, which used to be called the British Open. They actually canceled it this year. The first time since 1945 during World War II. I was not alive during that time, I promise you. But that was a super long time ago. So it's been a long time since they've actually not played a major championship like that. So the first one of every year is always the Masters, held down in Augusta, Georgia at Augusta National Golf Club. You got to watch it on TV. I promise you, it is awesome. The second one of the year now is the PGA Championship. The third one is going to be the U.S. Open, and the fourth one would be the Open Championship or the British Open, which is held over in Europe. So those are your 4 major championships. So make sure you remember that. I'm going to keep throwing that out there, so make sure you guys get that. You got to know your golf stuff, folks. Watch a little TV. Look up a little bit of history. You guys got a little bit of free time going on these days, so maybe look up a little history of golf and learn about who some of the great players were. And what's really cool is you can go on YouTube and you can YouTube some of those really old guys' swings, like guys from the 1920s and 30s. You can see how they swung a golf club way back when. Kind of cool. A lot of those guys played with hickory shafted clubs. So the shaft was actually wooden, not graphite, not steel. It was made of wood. So that's pretty cool. Now, when we go play golf.
Coach B?
Yep.
Alexis raised her hand and has a question.
What's your question, Alexis?
Oh, I was just gonna say we have my great grandpa's clubs downstairs, and they actually have like wooden shafts.
Very cool.
It's really amazing, actually. So.
Did you imagine of hitting one of those things back then?
Oh no! I mean, they're like really big.
So, what's really neat about the old clubs is this is the leading edge of a club. The very bottom right here is called the leading edge. Now, if you look at the old clubs, see how this is a little more rounded through here? They were really thin, and this leading edge was super sharp, and that's because the conditions of the golf courses were nowhere near what they are today. Now they're really plush, super green. Back then, they were burnt out, had all kinds of bumps and humps all in there, so you had to have this club that could dig down to get under that ball. So we're actually really fortunate to get to play with that today. The guys that played with those hickory shafted clubs with really poor turf conditions way back then really had to play some seriously good golf to shoot the scores that they shot. So really neat stuff. So if you can look at some old historical clubs, you can Google like really old wooden clubs and you can see how the difference is. And one of the other things they did is their grips, instead of being, instead of just being this long right here, the grips would go way down here on the club. So they were almost twice as long because the players would move their hands up and down the club for different kinds of shots. A little history lesson there for you. What?
Hey, William, you can show him the clubs.
Okay, I'll let him in a little bit. So what I was going back to is sometimes we don't hit the golf ball where we want. Obviously, that's the case because none of us are perfect here at this game. So sometimes we incur a penalty. Never that good to do that, but so in stroke play, you get added strokes to your score. In a couple situations here in match play, they actually add strokes to your score as well. So when you hit a ball out of bounds. Now, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what color are the out of bounds stakes? Anybody?
Paul's iPad.
I'm pretty sure one's red and another's yellow.
Okay, we'll get to those in a minute. So out of bounds, anybody else got an idea for out of bounds?
Isn't it white?
It's white. So think about this. The sidelines on a football field, if you go across that, the referee says you are out of bounds. In a tennis court, they've got white lines going up the side. If you go across it, you're out of bounds. So soccer field, white lines on the side, out of bounds. So think about that when you're playing golf. If you go across the white lines or the white stakes, you are out of bounds. The other one is lost ball. So if you hit a ball into a bunch of trees and you can't find it, does anybody know how many minutes you get to search for a lost ball? They changed it last year. It used to be 5 minutes. How many is it now?
It's 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Good job. So on both those cases, now some of the rules have changed a little bit, but typically you have to go back to where you originally played the shot and replay your third shot from there. So you have to count the shot you hit, add a penalty shot, and go all the way back to where you started and hit another shot. So those are called stroke and distance penalties. So you got to count the stroke that you hit and go all the way back, add a penalty shot, and then play from there. Now, when you talk about the red and yellow stakes, those are now called penalty areas. They used to be called water hazards, but they're not water hazards anymore. They're called penalty areas. So if you hit it in a penalty area, there's typically going to be a red or yellow line down, or a red and yellow, red stakes or yellow stakes. So make sure you know the difference between those, because on the test question, they're going to ask you a question, and they're going to say penalty areas are beyond the boundaries of the golf course. And of course, all of you are so smart, you're going to go, that's false, of course, coach. Because if it's beyond the boundaries of the golf course, it is out of bounds. So if you were at a golf course here in Charlotte, wherever you do your programming, and you were thinking the Atlantic Ocean is a water or a penalty area, it's not, because it's beyond the boundaries of the golf course you're playing. Therefore, it would be out of bounds. Now, if there's a pond or a creek that's on the golf course and you go in one of those penalty areas, you're in a penalty area. So just remember, make sure you know the difference between those. Very important. A lot of people miss that question on the test, so I want to make sure you guys all get it right. So penalty areas are not beyond the boundaries of the golf course. Penalty areas are only within the boundaries of the golf course. So if it's beyond the boundaries, you're out of bounds, and there's a white stake there, guaranteed. Okay. Going back, doing a quick recap. There goes the dog. Doing a quick recap. Make sure we're super responsible. Make sure during this time that we are really, really, really helping mom and dad, doing the things that you need to do around the house, and find a special project. There's some special project that your dad hasn't done, and say, hey, Dad, I'd love to help you with that. Or Mom, I'd love to help you do this or that. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate you taking the initiative to be super duper responsible. And then make sure you're always going to be honest around the house. So, hey, did you do your homework yet? Yeah, I did it. No, make sure you're being honest about that, and make sure you get that homework done. That's going to be real important. The 4 R's. Somebody raise your hand on the screen and tell me what the 4 R's, and remember the word that I used.
I think Colby and Parker were the first to raise their hands.
Oh boy, let's hear it, guys. What do you got for me?
Replay,
Mm-hmm.
relax. Oh, I forgot the other two.
What's the word that I used to remember that?
Andy or re-and.
Okay, remember Play-Doh, P-L-A-D-O. Everything starts with R-E, so you're going to go, like, anybody else got a hand up?
Nobody else has a hand up right now.
Okay, so replay, relax, ready, redo. So that's And if you always have a piece of paper with you, you can write these things down, but get a good look at that. See the word at the bottom, Play-Doh? So replay, relax, ready, redo. So that's the way I find out how I remember stuff. I come up with crazy little things like that, but it sticks in my brain, always helps me. All right, and your personal par. Your personal par is always going to be based on you and your ability, and you're always trying to improve just a little bit beyond where you're at right now. So if I go out and play 18 holes and I average 40 putts around, the next time I go out, I'm going to try to have 39 or 38 putts around, and I'm going to try to improve on that every time. So work on your skills, work on your personal par, and raise your hand if you got any questions for me.
Anybody got any questions?
No questions.
Alexis, yes, ma'am.
What is the highest time for the plank challenge right now?
Ooh. I don't.
Kick that one over to Miss Taylor or Mr. David, Coach
It's
David.
like 4 hours, 5 hours.
We have, I won't say who yet because we'll keep that a secret, but we have someone with 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Ooh, that's a serious plank. Challenge yourself. You still
do
got a few
that.
days.
I didn't know mine was going to count. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
Just kidding. Okay, so a couple things. Number one, if you missed any classes that we've done virtually, you can go back to the First Tee of Greater Charlotte YouTube channel and see those classes on there in case you missed anything or want to catch up on things. Or if you're just looking for more golf tips and games and things, Coach B does a phenomenal job getting those out. We've also got some of the girls' golf classes posted on there with Coach Brittany. And so, you know, we've got all kinds of stuff we're trying to put there for you guys. If you want more games, you want more instruction, you can go on and get different things. So if you will go on, check those out. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and hope you guys have a great Easter holiday, and we will see you next week on your spring break. Is it everybody's spring break next week?
No, not for us. We're homeschool. My mom makes us work.
No, same. Same.
Yeah.
No.
Eat tons of ham this weekend.
Definitely not.
Hey, and
No
real quick,
ham.
everybody, hold on. Make sure that you're being responsible and respectful of your body. Don't eat a bunch of candy this weekend and load up on sugar. That's really bad for you. So what I want you to do is save that candy and at least bring me half of it so you don't have to eat it, okay?
hey,
Not
I got
likely.
another one. I got
Not
that
really
everybody can be.
responsible for you, because what are you gonna do with those like 50 pounds of candy?
Well, I'm an old guy, so you know, you guys are young. You got to be healthy. I'm old. It doesn't matter.
You only
Still
grow
gonna
out
ride your
now.
body same and same.
All right, you guys. Have a great Easter.
Taylor, did you have something?
I did. I just want to say, I hope everyone also, keeping in mind, I know your parents are probably working from home. Raise your hand if your parents are working from home. Yeah. So I think to go off of Coach B's little responsible lesson, everybody should be responsible and respectful of their parents and try and be quiet probably while their parents are working from home, and they're also trying to help you with your schoolwork. So while you're on spring break next week, try to keep that in mind. If you don't have to do your schoolwork, now remember that they're still doing their work.
Yep. Thank you, Miss Taylor. Thank you, Coach Ian, Coach Brittany, Coach David, everybody. Coach Gilbert, I see you on here. Miss Tanya, thanks for all the adults who are helping out. If you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you so much. Be safe and have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.